Does anyone here think Josh Allen is playing this weekend?
I think he wants to play, but I think that the coaches will sit him. That's my gut feeling. I think he could
Absolutely
play.
no
I'll
way
say
he plays in this game.
I think he
no
could,
way.
but he's not going to.
I don't think he's playing for a couple games.
Yeah, I don't think.
I will say, David, to your point, if this was a playoff game, if this was like the game that clinched the playoffs, or whether we made it or not, or was a playoff game, I agree. I actually think he's physically capable of trying
exactly.
to play.
Yeah, he's capable of playing in some form, but the benefit of that being this weekend probably doesn't outweigh the need to rest him, right? So that's kind of I agree.
And I think there's a like a conversation Greg and I had a little bit on the preview show this week was like not all wins and losses are equal. Even though coaches and everyone will tell you, you know, the next game's the most important, it isn't. This Vikings game is not the most important game on the schedule. And so they're going to say that to the media and treat it as the most important. That's what they're supposed to do. But ultimately, not all wins are measured the same. And so the potential to lose to the Vikings does not concern me about the ultimate goals they're trying to achieve. Here, really, the next 3 weeks.
I was just going to say
has not a lot of concern to me.
The weird part that this stretch happens to be Vikings, Browns, Lions is an incredible blessing that, hey, if we can roll with Case Keenum plus these offensive weapons plus this defense and pull out a 1-2, 2-1 stretch out of those 3 games, like that's the exact kind of world where like, hey, we can let Josh Allen sit for it's either 24 days up until the Patriots game or 34 days if they wait all the way till December 11th on the Jets game. And then he would either have 5 or 6 regular season games left to get fully back into a rhythm, all the way frothed up and ready to go for the playoffs. If you're telling me I can do that, where I get 5 or 6 games out of him and he rests for either 24 or 34 days, we only miss 3 or 4 games. They're the 3 or 4 least consequential games on the schedule. I'm going to be outright mad if they push him.
Yeah, I think it's got to be backed by the Patriots game, even though I don't know that the Patriots. I think you could still possibly win a game with Case Keenum. I really want those AFC East games at this point. Being down 0-2 in the division does not sit well with me. I feel like you got to run the table with the division the rest of the way if you want the goals that you've set for this season. That big Bills, I don't see your full name. That big Bills guy.
Hey, couple. Morning, couple one and friends. How we doing? Yeah, that's the conundrum. It's a weird year. Everybody's doing pretty well. We want the 1 seed. Is it going to determine the health of Josh? Probably not. But if we lose, we sit him for 4 weeks, which I don't think this is the same injury as his rookie year. I don't think it's a grade, 3 or 2. I don't think it's as serious. But I say this week he's out. We all know this. He's not playing. Let's be common sense.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I don't think you should. What we do know about sprains is like time is your friend when it comes to sprains in terms of healing. And there's really nothing you can do to heal a sprain other than immobilize it and give it time. And so that seems to be what they're doing this week. And the more time you can buy, the better. Real quick, according to the New York Times playoff simulations that they do, I didn't think that we would be here as Buffalo Bills fans in November looking through these scenarios anymore because I thought we were sort of past this world. But this is what happens when your quarterback gets hurt and there's questions as to how long that will go, right? So right now, going into this week 10, they are at a 95% chance to make the playoffs. 49% chance to get the bye, which means they're getting the 1 seed at 49% chance right now. 21% chance that they host the wild card and 25% chance that they are the wild card, right? And then the 5% chance that they're out. If you give them a loss to the Vikings, and this doesn't account for any other scenarios the rest of the week, their playoff odds only drop to 94%. So you lose 1 or 2% chance of making the playoffs with a loss to the Vikings. Again, not all wins and losses are the same value. It does drop your ability for the bye week to 36%. So a little less than 20% drop earlier in the week, depending on the amount of simulations you run. It's right around about a 15% drop off, losing this game to the Vikings, not dependent on what else happens. That, to me, a 15% drop of getting the bye, to your point, Till, of like, I do think the Bills can win anywhere as long as they're healthy. A healthy Josh Allen matters way more to me than getting an additional week off. Like,
I'd
I
agree with
want the
you.
bye. I think it matters, but I think getting hot and having health at the right time matters way more than the bye week.
Yep, I agree with you for sure. And I'm not worried really about going on the road because we've gone through that, right? Like we've shown we can win an Arrowhead, like I was saying. So, and like likely that would be the collision course you're on if that were the case. And if for whatever reason you don't make it to Arrowhead, then you didn't get hot right at the right time anyway. So it wouldn't matter.
Yeah, and if the Chiefs lose to the Jaguars, who cares, right? No.
Exactly.
I mean, it's the NFL, so that's the other thing too. Like, we do look at this Chiefs schedule and think it's pretty easy, but we also think that about the Bills, and like, it just has to be one thing that kind of goes sideways where these games become more challenging matchups than you normally would think. The NFL has these. Every team's going to drop a good game or a game they shouldn't at some point. Really, it comes down to what Sean McDermott is always talking about, in my opinion, which is control your controllables. And right now, the only controllable they can do, in my opinion, is to monitor this elbow of Josh's and find the line between healthy enough to play and not as much of a risk to re-injure, and in games that are important enough that we need to win those games. And to me, that's, to Greg's point, sort of after Thanksgiving. Feel free to pop in. We try to keep anyone that requests, we try to keep an eye on and bring them in if you have anything to say. Jason M's requested, banged up Bills. What's happening, buddy? I see you in there sitting there quiet. What's going on?
I'm hanging out on a Friday morning, having the kids watch some TV, and Chris asked me to come on in. I figured let's talk about the Bills and all the injuries and whatnot. 2 do not participate, and he hasn't even been out on the field. He has the brace on his right arm. I don't see how he plays on Sunday, just because we see how cautious they are with these injuries. We see what's going on, the reports that have coming out. I know they said a tiny tear, but if you're seeing a tiny tear on imaging, that suggests at least a grade 2, because grade 1 is usually micro tearing. A sprain is a tear, but there's levels of tearing. So then when you start seeing tearing on the MRI, that strongly suggests that it's more a significant injury compared to what a grade 1 would be. Fortunately, it's not a grade 3. It's not a total, season-ending thing like everybody thought at the beginning of the week here. So it's smart to let this guy rest. This is probably the best 3-game stretch that you're going to get in terms of not needing Josh Allen against 2 NFC teams and the Browns. And that's why you bring Case Keenum in for this reason.
What are the risks to Allen in the short, medium, long term if he does play this week?
He could certainly injure it worse. I mean, we see that he's not moving his arm too much with the brace. I mean, he's moving it better than we saw with Jordan Poyer. I'll give him that. But the concern is he's going to start throwing that thing. I don't know how fast he throws a football, but it's faster than most quarterbacks. But that's a lot of stress through the arm, even though the mechanics are different from that of a baseball pitcher. There's certainly risk to hurt it the same way he hurt it again. And then just running around, just putting the stress through it, not giving the time to rest and recover. So we could make this thing where he gets mostly healthy. You come back against the Patriots in week 13 or whatever it is, or you play through that and it never quite fully gets right and he's struggling to get through there. We've seen that time and time again, guys trying to play through injury and then they're just not right. And people are like, oh, well, he sucks and whatnot there. So I'd rather let him get right rather than trying to make this thing linger or potentially worsen it, knowing that teams are going to try to rip his arm off, knowing that he is injured in that specific area.
Mexico Marty, another person always seeing with tons of support for Cover One and everybody here. What's happening, man? We appreciate you.
How's it going? Good morning, guys. First of all, man, thanks, Aaron, so much, and Eric and all the Cover One guys for everything you do for us Bills fans, man. It's much appreciated.
We appreciate that, man. Thank you.
Yeah, so I don't have anything analytical. I just like to sneak in on the end of the show with some anecdotal evidence just to maybe get people fired up for the weekend. I have another good one today. I think you remember a couple of weeks ago I mentioned about a brand new Bills hat I saw on an older Mexican guy on my way to work.
Yeah.
And so I got another good one. We came down to the beach this weekend because the kids are out of school for Veterans Day. So yesterday evening, my wife's down on the beach, and the beach vendors, they're usually you can tell their wares are kind of like a barometer for your sports team. Like a lot of over the years, a lot of Yankees, a lot of Bulls, over the years. Not much Bills. Usually you'd have to ask the guy.
Tons of Lakers, I bet.
Yeah, of course. So, usually if you do say, los Bills, hay algo de los Bills, you'll get a weird look, and maybe the guy will go to the back of the store and look and maybe come out with like a shot glass that's 20 years old, with the Buffalo on it. And so yesterday my wife's down on the beach with the kids, and, so it's one of the beach vendors walking down, and usually, they've got to make a good sell. So usually it'll be like, oh, senor, Cuban cigar, senor, Oakley glasses. And his opening pitch to my wife out of nowhere, no one has anything Bills on. He's never seen us before in his life. Senora, sombrero de los Bills? And his first hawk to her is a Bills sombrero. And I was like, wow, I was blown away. You know what I mean?
That's awesome, man. I love that. I absolutely love that.
So I just wanted to tell that quickly just to kind of get people fired up and enjoy the ride, because it's just been such a great season. And, it's going to be a great weekend. Hopefully we'll make it through, Josh is, for a couple weeks. And, again, thank you guys. And go Bills.
Go Bills, man. Yeah.
Thanks, Marty.
I think it's important to remember that even in this frustrating 6 quarters and after a loss that, the Bills are still really the apple of everyone's eye in the NFL at this point. Down to the hour is what Coach McDermott also said on Sal Capaccio's Extra Point show. Today, so they're going to take Josh Allen right down to the hour. Does anybody believe that? Is he really going down to the hour?
I don't think so, but I don't think that they want to tell us.
No, there's no benefit. Again,
and they don't want to tell the Vikings either, right? I mean, the Vikings, if they're smart, are going to just assume he's not playing, because at the end of the day, if you're the Vikings and Josh Allen is playing, you're like, okay, well, we already know what that's going to be. So, I mean, there's really no... I mean, McDermott's trying to get the advantage here, but I think the Vikings are probably privy to, like, what's going on, like, just reading between the lines.
Yeah, I think there's no perceived advantage or disadvantage, and that is tough for fans to then say, like, well, why is he doing this if there's no advantage or disadvantage? But I think he's just going to lean into, if there is none, then you don't need the information. But Till, you're right. Like, if you're the Vikings, prepare for Allen, prepare to contain Allen. And then if you are lucky enough to go up against Case Keenum, you don't have to do as much as you already prepared for, and you can still play within yourselves and stop Case Keenum, right? Like, you're not worried about that. You still plan for Allen. So
exactly.
I don't see any advantage, but it's going to stress Bills fans out all the way through the weekend now that he is taking that down to the hour. So we'll see.
Like taking swings with a weighted bat, right? Like the practice for Josh Allen, and then you get Case Keenum.
Perfect. Absolutely. That's a great analogy. That'd make a good YouTube short spot there. But anyways, it is 10:30. It's my wife's birthday weekend, so I'm going to go relieve her of having to deal with my kids here now that everybody's off for Veterans Day. But if you're off today, I hope you have a fantastic Buffalo Bills Friday. Try to be nice out there in the Twitter space, because it's a little hairy out there on Twitter. So let's try to have fun, good Buffalo Bills Friday, and get the energy back up, man. I feel like Bills Mafia's energy is just, we got punched in the gut and we haven't come back yet, man.
Yeah, it's rough out there.
Yeah.
But
sorry, boys. I was just say we had a stretch like this last year with the Patriots, taking the division and losing. So keep the spirit up. Even if we lose on Sunday, there's so much time left in this year to get it right.
Yeah,
everything's
for sure.
right in front of us. Yep. Well, thanks, guys. Make sure you're following everybody at Cover One, as always. Heading over to the YouTube channel. Make sure you're subscribed there. Dave Tilton, Tilt Money, who was in here.
Thanks for joining, Dave.
Yeah, thank you for coming on. Make sure you're following the Air Raid guys and following their show, the pregame show, the best out there, hour before kickoff. You want to be on that. So make sure you're following all of us, and we appreciate all the support you guys give us, and we'll talk to you soon.
Go Bills.
Go Bills.